Good evening. Welcome to Pinstripes After Dark. I'm Uncle Tats, and welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles. If you are new here, just remember, if you want to join the chat, all you got to do is simply just smack for free that like button. Now, to the frustration. Where to start? We had the series on Sunday, and the umps have been they've been a target for a lot of reasons, and deservedly so. And Jared, right on cue. Yeah, these umps are trash, and that is the problem. These umps just don't know how to get out of their own way. They want to continue to be the spotlight when the spotlight's not supposed to be about them. It's supposed to be about the play on the field. So it's just one of these where it just doesn't freaking stop. And part of it is of my frustration over the weekend that prompted me to want to do this. One is I had to work early, so I wasn't able to really. I wasn't able to do the show this morning, but I did want to get my opinions out so we could just move on from this and get into more of the detailed baseball talk with the guys on Wednesday morning. But I want to lead off with the umpires and how they missed that home run from Judge. I mean, that was you talk about. I think that's probably one of the more egregious mistakes they've made since Galarraga's perfect game. Like it's on that level. You can. It was that obvious, and what made it comparable to how bad it was is even with the replay, they fucked it up. And that's completely uncalled for. You cannot make that kind of mistake. You really can't. It shouldn't happen. That's the whole point of the replay system, is that they're supposed to get these calls right or right the umpire's wrongs, and they still couldn't figure it out. I don't understand what video they saw in New York, where they were like, yeah, no, they're right. That's not a home run, where it was clear as day. And you have fans from every fan base. I mean, Jared Carabas, who's a huge Yankee hater, was even saying, they got that wrong. And when you have fans from other fan bases that despise the Yankees, Salicata did the same thing today. I heard a clip of that. When you have these Yankee haters even saying that Judge got screwed, baseball has a big problem, and Manfred really needs to address this issue. They really do. But one issue that does not need to be corrected are the people that are hanging out with us in the chat tonight, and want to give a quick shout out to them. We got NFE from the Strike Zone, always holding it down, calling the games. Appreciate you for putting that content out. One of these days when I have a day off, I really want to hang out with everybody in the chat for the game. We're saying the robo umps incoming. Replays and calls will be made by robots too. But even NFE, even with we saw the replay. They reviewed it and they still got it. I mean, as much as technology is going to be the future, it's got to get to the point where the humans can't keep making this mistake, because otherwise, we are going to end up being overrun by robots. And that's not the way that baseball is supposed to be played. It's supposed to be, that human element to it, with just enough of the new technology to make sure that the games are correct on everybody's scorecard. And we're going to get to the scorecard issue in a little bit. But I do want to get to this thing with the umpires because it drives me absolutely fucking nuts. Do want to welcome Spanky. Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles. Hope that you are enjoying or will enjoy the After Dark show and the live streams Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. And with the ladies, Sundays at 11. This way you know our schedule. and Saturdays on occasion, like with the After Dark show is on occasion with the Yankified with Donald. But Spanky, welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles. Appreciate you checking in and checking us out. Another comment here because I want to get to everybody. Sue Neal, don't go Incredible Hulk on us. We'll be good, I promise. Look, if I was on this morning, I would have absolutely gone on such a tirade where we probably would have been demonetized with the language that would have come out of my mouth. So it's probably better off that I was not around this morning. Jonathan, Pinch After Dark should be every week. I wish I could do it every week. Some just with my schedule sometimes, but I'm tired or I'm working overtime. My next day off because I'm working 2 jobs plus the podcast at this point. So my next actual day off when I have nothing where I don't have anything will be after 16 days of work. I will have off this coming Saturday. That's life. It is what it is. I love being able to go to work every day. I really do. Got FJ hanging out with us. FJ, hello all. Hello to you. We got Dev Finch also with us. What's up, Tats? What's up, everybody? What is going on, everybody? We got ABX hanging out with us as well. We also had Ken hanging out. And, of course, my favorite critic, Brad Jewis from Down Under, After Dark, out of hiatus again. Yeah. Look, there are sometimes, I don't get a chance to do the Monday show for whatever reason. Today I got called into work super early because they just needed coverage. And when the boss calls, I go running. That's just how it goes. But, yeah, so I do try to do these as often as I can because I really do enjoy these late night shows with everybody. We also have Ken Claus hanging out with us in the building. Ken Claus, what is going on? And make sure you check out his channel as well, as this is a very tight-knit community in YouTube Yankees universe. And so make sure you check out his also The Ugly Truth with the Yankees. 2 jobs now, NFV. Yep. I got my regular job Monday through Friday, and then I have another side gig on the weekends. Just trying to, get the money while I can. If I have the free time, I'm going to make the money. And so, and then he's also adding into Super Soaker these umpires. And let me tell you, I love that joke. It still cracks me up. So, but back to some of my ranting on these umpires. These are things where, and there were a couple of points brought up throughout the day on social media, on radio, on YouTube channels like NFEs and the Strike Zone. Jason from 161. There's so many great channels out there. It's any situation. If you had money on that game, or if you had Judge hitting a home run in a parlay, it's, there are ramifications, and not that I condone gambling. I don't gamble. It's one of those, I did it at one point, have a gambling problem. So I don't gamble anymore, but to each their own. Just be responsible about it. Trust me, you could easily go down the dark road with that. But, there is the gambling aspect to it, as not only just the record books. So it's one of these, you do what you have to do. They cannot, and it feels like I'm beating a broken record at this point. If you're going to mess with this, like how inept do you have to be at your job to make these many mistakes and not have to be accountable for it? And I think, it's one of these where with baseball, when you have these type of situations, I'm sorry, the umpires have to sit in front of the mic. They have to explain themselves. Now, what I want to see happen is when they have a replay, This is something I think that Manfred and the umpires union is something that could really they could stand behind. If you when you overturn a call or you don't overturn whatever footage MLB sees that gives them that makes their decision for them, they should send that feed to the stadium to be put on the jumbotron. Let us see what you see, and either we'll be like, okay, I see why they did that, or we'll still be in situations like we are today or tonight, saying, how did they fuck that up? Because it's absolutely ridiculous. If you think that's something that they should be doing, just drop it in the comments. If you agree that they should have the MLB in New York City should send the feed, send the video of what they see so everybody else can see what they're looking at. Let's get another comment here from Jared. You know what? The way these umps did not call the home run for Judge right there, that is partly, yeah, exactly. My point. Exactly my point. And if he's also adding in, there's no consistency with these calls. There's not. There's no consistency. But I think what's worse than having no consistency, because every umpire's got a different strike zone, and I think over time we've grown accustomed to that. Next year they're going to have that ABS system where they're going to be able to challenge the balls and strikes, which is something I'm looking forward to. And I am not one of these that wants to bring more technology into the game, but they're not giving us any choice. They really aren't. And Jonathan agrees. Yeah, show it to everybody. And Sunil said again, speaking of 2 gigs, I've gotten into an affiliation marketing with vendors of pickleball apparatus. Oh, geez. You wouldn't get pickleball. I should have read the whole thing before I put it up on the screen. No, but no, I appreciate, it's, I know how much you're passionate about it. And when you do get your channel and your business up and going, definitely we'll link it out for you. We always try to be supportive to everybody. The other thing, and I want to get to a little bit of the game tonight, right? A little spoiler, because tonight is just a really rough night against a team that has one of the worst team ERAs in baseball. I think they're 28th out of 30 for a team ERA. That the Yankees, it took them a while to break through, but it was too late. Yes, the nickname is Pickleballs. That is a good one. The whole thing with Max Fried, and he's saying he had no idea what was going on when they decided to change the scoring on it. But here's my issue with it. Why did it take so long? Like these things, I think if it occurred, you should have 1 inning to correct a call as an official scorer. 1 inning. None of this 24 hours. If it's that if you have that if you have that much conviction that the error should be a hit, it should be obvious enough where I'm not even going to say half an inning, John. I'm really not. I think it should be one of those where if you're in the top of an inning, by the time you come back to the plate, like if the error is on the defense, like right. So for argument to keep the argument going, the whole thing with Goldschmidt. By the time the Yankees get back on the field and that first pitch is thrown, if the scorer has not adjusted it, it stands. If the error is in favor of, I'll go. It happens once in a while, Brad. Once in a while, I'll sit and I'll think. Depends on how much free time I have. If the error is in favor of the home team, by the time that they get to bat, and so on. You catch my drift. I think that's the way it needs to be done. None of this, 3 days later, 3 innings later. I mean, come on, enough's enough. Especially that you're talking about a no hitter right now. Even though the hit came almost immediately, it was almost like the magic of the game was gone at that point. Whether Fried says he realized it or not, the Tampa's official scorer did not want a no hitter, and I'm convinced of this. He was trying to find something to say where there was a play that was labeled as an error that shouldn't, for just to save Tampa from being no hit. 6 outs away, that's when you make the decision, and then have the goal to be completely dismissive about it when you're questioned. I made my decision. What the fuck is that? You made your decision. Look, if you have that much conviction about it, explain why you overturned it. Have a set of balls and explain why that went from an error to a hit. You're assuming that the runner was going to be safe. You can't. I'm sorry. You cannot assume any play. Why do we always say, run it out? You never know what's going to happen. You always complete the play. The umpires ruled that an error. It took you 3 innings to go back and look at the footage because you were desperate to save your team that you employed by not being embarrassed by being no hit in a minor league ballpark. That's my take on it. He did his employer a favor, and I bet you he got a raise for it. He had to have something on the back end to do that. So I'm working on it. Ken's adding in, it means fans suck it up, buttercups. Yeah, it's... Look, there was criticism also on Susan Waldman's reaction, going, look, you do not take a perfect, you don't take a no-hitter or a perfect game over a scoring decision like that. You want to give somebody a hit, let it be a legitimate hit. You want to do it after the game and rob somebody, that's fine. But here's the other fucking problem. Why couldn't they do that for Galarraga? I know I mentioned Galarragas with Detroit when Jim Joyce screwed that up. You know what? Because I looked it up. Because the rule was still the same. They could have changed it. They could have changed the scorer's decision. They got 24 hours. You know what? Manfred was afraid of the union, and he pressed the official scorers, not to overturn the call. That was that was a Bud Selig decision, not to give that guy his perfect game, and shame on him for that. A small upgrade, that'd be a major upgrade over Manfred. Don't insult me. Look, you want to insult a lot of things about me? That's fine. To say that I'm only a small upgrade over Manfred, shame on you, Brad. Shame. I watched the play. It wasn't no, I don't think it was an error either. I really don't. I think, look, he was going to be safe regardless. I don't. I guess it is. I was going to say, I don't think it's fair to break down the play, but in context, yeah, let's break down the play. There was no way he was getting beat out at the plate at first base. He had the defense beat. He did. Was it the right move to change that call? Yes. My issue is the timing of it. let the game play out. If there's a legitimate hit, like there was a couple of batters or so later, then you make the adjustment. Right? Because it, like I said, Fried knew what was going on. Everybody knew what was going on in the game, that there was a no-hitter. You're gonna take that away over a scoring decision from a play 2.5 innings later. That's where that's where it doesn't sit well with me. I'm sorry. The bottom of the ninth, if they actually get a legitimate hit and you want to adjust the scoring from there, that's fine. No harm, no foul. The no hitter is already gone. And yeah, it should have been overturned before the next. But to Ken's point, and just to be fair, to be transparent, it should not have been an error. I watched the play a few times. It should have never been an error. There was no way they were making that out. But you have to, you cannot have a no-hitter or a perfect game being taken away from, a judgment on the scorer. That's my issue on it. Another issue is Fried pitched more than he should have after the call change. Well, they didn't. Could they have just taken about it the game right there? I'd have to go back and see if they had anybody in the bullpen ready. I'm not sure. I don't remember if they had anybody up in the bullpen to be like, all right, we're just gonna. You're done. And Brad's agreeing that the overturn should have been way quicker. Absolutely. The scorekeeper should have made the call within the next half inning. That's my beat. Yeah, it should have been done a lot quicker. That's what I'm saying. Once you pass a full frame, then the ball lies where it is. There's no do-overs. You can't just keep changing the scorecard because your team's on the losing end of it. It's to me that should be one of it's one of those unwritten rules. Just like you don't talk about the no-hitter until it's done, whether they go the whole distance or it's broken up. Then you'd be like, wow, I can't believe he was throwing the no-hitter into the 8th inning. It's I just think that's it's bad karma. I'm a big karma guy, and I hope Ken Williams had, on his way home, he got 2 flats with 1 spare. And if he's adding in, goes, I was cool with Fried pitching for as long as he did. He was pitching a gem, and even after they took the no-hitter away, it was necessary with how much the bullpen has been used. That's another good point. And it was the issue with the bullpen's been beat up. And we saw a little bit of it today with Cleveland putting on a couple tack-on runs. And why do the Yankees keep pitching to Jose Ramirez? Let's switch it today a little bit. Why are they still pitching to him? Going into the game with a minimum of 200 at-bats, Jose Ramirez is batting .333 going into the game. And every time they had a scoring opportunity with him up, they wanted to pitch to him. Sorry, that's going to cause Boone some points on his rating at the end of the series. But enough they had freaking Reyes in the lineup. They call up Vivas, and now I know he's a serviceable outfielder, but you need offense. They needed the offense. Why wasn't he pitch hit for? You had guys on the bench. Where was Peraza? Why couldn't they put Peraza? Why didn't they put Vivas in the game? See if he can, catch them off guard without having too much of a book on him. Because he could have been studying the bullpen, options, and he could have come in as a pinch hitter ready to go. Where now the pitcher doesn't have the book on him. So it was today's game was. Look, Cleveland and the Yankees, they do play each other hard. It's always competitive. And so I can't get too mad about a loss. I just wish it was a little more of I wish the lineup would look a little different, I guess. I don't think it was our strongest lineup that we've put out. I know a couple of people were saying it was a punted line. I don't think it was a punted lineup. I think Boone just tried getting a little over cute with getting everybody involved with the game. Try not to have too many people on the bench for too long. Especially that they didn't have Grisham. He's on paternity leave. Congratulations to him and his wife, on the birth of their child. I can't get upset that Grisham wasn't in a lineup. I wouldn't have been there either if it was me. Plenty of bullpens all available tomorrow. Gomez pitching 3 innings and Yarborough pitched 1. Gomez taking it. Gomez going 3 innings actually really was a good thing for the bullpen because they do need the rest. They need the rest, and Gomez is, is from what I remember, and believe me, Brad will remind everybody. I don't have the best memory for shit, but Gomez is a guy that can give. He's a long man. He's going to give you a couple of innings. I think that was a great move for the ball. It was a great decision on him for the bullpen. Raziel the Great, what's going on, Raz? How you been? Slap the like, exactly. Slap that like button. He's also heading in. So you're gonna tell me someone isn't betting these games, and the ump's job is ensure it goes a certain. You never know. Wouldn't it be the first time that betting has infiltrated the game or has infiltrated sports? Just saying. But no, I don't want to put that conspiracy out there. My conspiracy is, I think the Rays official scorer, Ken Williams, did not want the Rays to be no hit in a minor league ballpark. So he searched through film to try to find something that he could overturn without it truly being justified. Yeah, Loizaga is going to be on the way back. And I saw that Stanton is swinging and doing some hitting drills, which is very much positive. We were able to avoid, Ben Rice was available off the bench. We saw him in today's game. Wasn't too happy about, swinging early in the count like that, right out of the gate, especially in that inning. If he's coming in the 8th inning, you want to try to be a little aggressive. That's fine. Never get aggressive in the 9th inning. You wait for the pitch that you like. Always after the first pitch. You are absolutely right. Baseball would have, the sports world would have grinded to a halt if they did that to Ohtani. They would have. You would never see that. I'm going to put a star on that comment. They would have never taken that home run away from Ohtani. But say Judge gets to 72, right? Well, he's on the verge of tying or going past Bonds for the record. And he's that one home run shy. Then what? And Judge with the class that he has, he's like, it ain't the first time. It's not that it hasn't happened before. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time. Um, I was just saying, why not put a cat? Well, that's what I said. That's what I was saying earlier in the show. Is once they finish a complete frame, once two frames of an inning go past, the call stands. The scorer cannot change it. None of this 24-hour shit. It's too much. Yeah, if you can't tell within an inning if it's actually a legit error when you want to change the scoring, if you can't figure it out by then, same thing like with the replay. They have 30 seconds to figure out if they want to challenge it. You get an inning to figure out if you want to change the scoring card. What's Sunil saying? Yeah. Stanton returning to this team in early June, possibly. Doesn't that bring back recollections of A-Rod coming back from the hip issue back in 09? It's similar to it. I don't think it's fair to put the two of them in the same conversation just because A-Rod's contributions were not solely offensive. He was also playing defense. And as much as it's pissed me off over the years that the Yankees forced him to be a DH, where he was very capable of playing the field, the time has passed of him being an outfielder. So it's not like Stanton right now is a one-sided contributor where A-Rod is playing on both ends. And so I think that can it, be like, is there a justifiable way to compare them? Yeah, but I think with A-Rod it was different because him taking back third base was a big deal. On the offensive side, yes, it's very comparable. But A-Rod wasn't just all about his bat. His defense was a key part of the World Series run. And so I can't really dive too much. I don't want to dive too deep into that comparison, but I don't think you're that far off base either. Now, as far as some of these, I was watching a YouTube clip and there's this channel that I've really enjoyed watching at night. It's Nothing Personal with David Sampson is the name of the channel. I'm going to find the channel link and I'll put it in the description for everybody to check out because he is the forward GM and president of baseball operations with the Marlins. And they were talking about how the Portland politicians have agreed to start a fund through the state for an expansion team of whichever sport chooses to do so, leaning more with the with the MLB. And we all know that the game is looking to expand. And I know Nashville's been a heavy component. You hear that city a lot, but Portland is actually a very good sports town. So I think Portland actually would really support a team well. So I think that's going to be one of the cities that are going to really get that expansion team. Portland, Nashville, and Raleigh. Jonathan is saying. Nashville, I think, is going to be. I think Nashville is getting a team. I really do. Is it going to be a new team or like Sunil's coming in right behind you saying Portland should relocate the Marlins, Nashville should take the Rays, leave Florida to spring training only? Florida doesn't work for baseball. It doesn't. It sucks because you know, you never want to see a state, a city, or a county lose that revenue. But the own if they're going to relocate those teams need to be sold first, because the owners are not going to change the way they operate. They're just going to make a new shit team. Say Portland takes the Marlins and it's the same ownership. You think they're going to start spending differently? No. It's going to be the same shit show. Same thing with the Rays. You think, oh, now that we're in Nashville, it's, they're going to start paying their players more than $10 million? No. They're not going to fucking change the way they operate. They need to sell the team first. Alabama? No. Alabama is a college town. They're not doing it. No. Absolutely not. I don't think they'll gravitate to a MLB team like they do with the Roll Tide. The Roll Tide dominates that market, and then it doesn't matter where anybody else comes in. Alabama's not doing it. Yeah, Jonathan. Gina tried changing the Marlins' new ownership, but didn't want to change. Well, that's why he left. He's like, look, I'm here to put a winner together. If you're not on board with that, I'm out. Is it a money laundering scheme, Raziel? I don't know. But what I can tell you, the Marlins are a developmental team for the rest of MLB. Las Vegas for a long time was a college sports town too. Vegas, you can't compare Vegas to Alabama. You got a different level of clientele or tourism from Vegas to Alabama. And you're not wrong, but it's a very different demographic. It's a different level of tourism. So I just don't see where that would work either. What do we think of what are we taking away from Schmidt's before we wrap it up? What are we taking away from Schmidt's performance today? Something to worry about, or just a hiccup on his return into getting into a rhythm for the season? We'll give let a few comments come in on Schmidt, and then we'll get to those comments and wrap things up. San Antonio, I don't think San Antonio is going to get anything. The Hampton Roads area. Where's the Hampton Roads area? Fourth largest metropolitan area. It does not have a professional sports team. Interesting. No, Razzie, I think Portland would be a great. I think that Portland's going to be the place because the politicians are already behind it, and when you already have the political support within all the demographics that need to make it happen, it's almost inevitable. Whether it's a new expansion team or they're going to try to find a group to take over ownership from either the Marlins or the Rays, one of them have got to go. FJ is paying it. He's keeping up with the chat. If Schmidt's next start is like tonight's, then I'll be worried. I'm not worrying quite yet. Oh, Virginia Beach. Okay. That could work. They do get a lot of tourism. That's not a bad idea, Ken. I like that one. But I can see Virginia. I can see somewhere in that area. Absolutely. It's a nice area, too. But yeah, Schmidt's got to really wake up. I don't want to beat him up over his second start back from the IL. I thought Susan put it perfectly because I agree with it. Is your first start, you're on all adrenaline. Your second start, you're trying to regain that adrenaline of coming back. But your third start is where you're going to see exactly what's going on with these guys, and if they're ready to go. So, yeah, if his next FJ, if his next start is like tonight, then there's reason to be concerned that the magic of last year may be gone. Maybe I don't want to, his fourth start could be he could have a net like Freed. You never know. That's baseball season. Anything can happen. As the great, they would move the Rays because Miami's a huge market and an outpost of Latin America. Yeah, I think the Rays would be the one to go first over Miami. Because right now they don't even have a freaking home. You really don't. They have nowhere to go. San Antonio has NBA with the Spurs. Austin has MLS with Austin FC. Both cities could use pro sports growth. I know you've been making the case for San Antonio for a while. I'm not ruling anything out. I'm just saying when you're looking at when you hear the discussions and the details with Portland, I think Portland just went to the top of the list. That's all I'm saying. We were finalists for the Expos and had a better package than DC. Okay. So why'd they go to DC if they had the better area? They had the better package. That's interesting. Wonder what made them decide what kickbacks they got. If Schmidt's next star falls apart, then move him to the long man in the pen roll once again. Yeah, I'm not setting him down. I'm not trading him away. I think they'd have to find another role. The problem is who's taking the spot in rotation. Who you take Schmidt out of the rotation. Who's taking that spot? So, you kind of get into that muddy area right there. So it's a wait and see. We're gonna find out what's gonna happen. And then for the final comment of the night before we wrap it up, Schmidt's performance is consistent with his norm. He makes 75 pitches, and he can't make it through a lineup 3 times. Does not have a strikeout pitch. And Ken, you're absolutely right. He does have trouble as the pitch count gets up. The third time, all the metrics, all the sabermetrics are what they are, and he falls in line with a lot of those. And of course, down to the wire. We got old Sarge. What's going on, Sarge? Nobody likes the Navy. That's why they didn't go to the Hampton Roads. The place is full of Look, I don't discourage any of our military services and the servicemen. They do amazing things, no matter which branch they are, giving their lives to. So I always, my grandfather's one grandfather was in the Navy, the other was in the Army, and I've had a bunch of family members that have been in the Marines. Some of them are still in the Marines. Semper Fi to them. Coast Guard, I've had family within every branch of the military. So I hold no grudges against either branch. I get it. I know exactly what it is. I know it's an Army Navy thing. So I'm just protecting myself for the future comments. You never know. People get a little, that's the problem, Sarge. People get a little sensitive these days. They don't understand the humor within our little circle, and they want to blow things out of proportion. But no, it's definitely an Army Navy thing. You can see that in the college game, and but who else? Somebody else snuck in right at the last second. Stephen B. Strowman should be coming back soon. Hopefully, let him. I'd rather deal with. I'd rather be frustrated with Schmidt than Strowman, to be honest with you. Keep Strowman away. Sorry, I'm done. And DJ's coming on the way back. Yeah, there's something else to look forward to. DJ LeMahieu, DJ LeGrand out, but we'll see. We'll get into more of the injury updates on Wednesday, so make sure you tune in with me, Rob, and Donald on Wednesday morning show. And to everybody that did pop on, hung out the whole time, do appreciate everybody that hung out with me tonight. This has been Pinstripes After Dark. I am Uncle Tats. And just remember, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner, and always remember to wear those pinstripes with pride and play hard.